Hello everyone, good evening and welcome to another edition of the Admirals program that we've been running for some time now. This is our third week. For whatever reason, I was on the wrong platform and I'm so sorry about that. But today we are on the right platform, and please, I need to know if you are on, if you are there, if you can hear me. I need to please type something, say something, let me know you're out there. Oh yes, welcome Kunle Ajala, Israel, Babajide. Wow, my very good friend, thank you so much for coming on board. I'm really sorry about last week, yeah, but we're here now, which is what matters. And I'm sure this, judging from the feedbacks, Mr. Okoro is here, Odio is here too. Thank you all for coming on live. From the feedbacks and the responses and the questions and the follow-up I've been seeing online and over the on the phone as well, I am so blessed to know that this program is ministering to somebody, is helping somebody, is making somebody become a better man, towards becoming a better man. This is a journey. You see, when we started, I said, come with me. This is it's a journey of discovery. We are all gearing towards becoming a better man. So I'm so glad you are all on. Thank you all for all of you that are on. I'm so excited about today's program. It's going to be another blowout. I can assure you that. Also, I want to reiterate that now we have a dedicated email address. So feel free to send an email. Feel free to let me know. One of the parameters we set up at the beginning is that it would be good to have feedbacks so that we can use that to help others. Our new email address is theadmirals@yahoo.com. theadmirals@yahoo.com. Please feel free to use the email address, especially after the program, so that I'll have the opportunity to answer some of the questions that have been asked. Amonike is with us too. Thank you so much for coming on. Chibuzo Wadi has joined. Thank you, all of you. Well, I think we better make a good start at it then, now that we are definitely on the right platform today. Thank God for that. Right. What are we looking at today? We are looking at one of the core values that we need to develop. You remember we said at the beginning that we've broken the whole program down into 5 categories. In the month of February, we are looking at the inward development. For March, we'll be looking at outward development. For this month, we've dealt with, the first week we looked at finding your non-negotiable, unalterable terms, the NOTs. Last week, we looked at how to conquer fear. This week, we are looking at first impression matters. First impression matters. First impression matters. Now, I'm sure you've heard somebody, you probably have said it yourself. There is no second chance in first impression. There is no second chance. You don't have a second chance to make a first impression. And that is very, very critical for the program tonight. Mr. Disu is joining us from Nigeria. Thank you, welcome. And it's important for us to understand, especially as men, first impression is everything. First impression is great. Let me paint a scenario or two or three scenarios, and let's see if we can all relate to this. Let's say, for instance, you've been invited for an interview. You prepared yourself, you psyched yourself, you are ready to go. They called you in, you knocked them out for 6. I mean, you came out of the room feeling, boy, I can't wait for my phone to ring. The offer is in my hand and all of that. And then you wait, and you wait, and you wait, and you didn't hear from them. Also, for instance, for those of us young men that are still single and searching, God bless you. Say you are at a party and there's this lady you met at the party, and it seems everything seems to have just gone well. The conversation was great. The fellowship was wonderful. You have exchanged phone numbers and you can't wait to get home. You got home, sent a text and a message, and no response. Nothing. You haven't heard back from her. And you're wondering, what happened? What was that all about? And there are many instances like that. And then you look back at yourself, you say, wait a minute, let me do a checklist. And you manually, or you mentally rather, you go through your checklist. Yeah, that was said right, that was done right, I did that right, I'm sure I didn't upset her or upset him. And yet you didn't get any response. And you're wondering. You see, situations like that will leave you confused on one hand and frustrated on the other hand, because you're wondering, what else do I have to do? Hi, Sister Kate, welcome. Victor, you're very welcome. Obayelu, thank you so much for joining us. And you're wondering, what is that all about? Whatever the situation might be, whatever the story is, even though to you you've done it the right way, you've done it well, probably, there is a chance, the possibility that you may have made a wrong first impression on that person. Hi, Sister Linda from Lagos. You may have made a wrong impression on that person, a wrong first impression rather, on that person. And as we go along the program tonight, you will understand how critical, how important first impression is in everything that we do. You see, each interaction that you have with people, every time you meet, especially new people, every time you meet somebody new, there are two worlds here. There is the world of opportunity and the world of possibility. The reason I say that is because every person you meet is a potential client. Every person you meet is a potential lover. Every person you meet is a potential friend or a soul to be won to the kingdom. Every person you meet could just be your destiny helper. So those are the two words of opportunity and possibilities. Every day you make contact with people for the first time. And sometimes we get too familiar, we get so familiar about it, we don't even think about it. It's just, oh, it's a new person, and you move on. But the truth is this: whether the possibilities or the opportunities turn into reality is determined, is pending, is hanging on the first impression that you make on that person. The first impression that you make on that person. Now, let me ask you a simple question today. And I want today to be interactive, so I'm expecting some contribution from you as well. Where can you just look back at your normal daily routine and think of where are the possible places where you meet people newly every day, maybe every week, maybe every now and again. This is somewhere you go, this is something you do, this is somewhere you visit. And most of the time you meet somebody. Can you cast your mind back and just share a few of that with us? Let us know some of these places, because there's a reason why I'm asking this question. So maybe at the petrol station, the grocery store, maybe where you get your breakfast, your coffee, whatever it is. Where are some of the places where you meet new people? Because I want you to, from now on, to become conscious, to become aware, to become prepared. Because this will happen again and again and again and again. Again and again and again. Oh, Mr. Disu from the US is with us too. Thank you for joining us. You're welcome, Lekon. I read a book once. The book is called The Tipping Point. I don't know if any of you have read The Tipping Point. It's by a popular author called Malcolm Gladwell. And in that book, the book is about how small things make the big changes. And Malcolm Gladwell was talking in the book Tipping Point. He said, every one of us, every human being is between 4, maybe 5 people away from the tipping point person for their lives. 4, 5 people. Dikimo, you're welcome. 4, 5 people away from the person that will give you the edge, that will help you cross the barrier, that will take you over the edge into your destiny, into your promised land, into your purpose and planning and God's plan for your life. Now, if that is the case, can you now begin to see how important it is for us to take first impression, the importance, the weight that is attached to making the right first impression? Every time you meet a new person, you are living in 2 paradigms. Hey, Bro Moses, every time you meet a new person, you are living in 2 paradigms. The first one is how you think you've made impression on that person, or how you would like to make your first impression on that person. The second paradigm is how you have actually made that impression as far as the other person is concerned. The challenge between these two sphere of life, as it were, is that as human beings, we need to constantly try to find the balance and to synchronize these 2 paradigms at the same time. You are trying to make a good impression and hoping and believing that the other person will also have received a signal from you that confirms that you are giving a good impression. Have you ever heard the phrase, don't judge a book by its cover? I'm sure some of us, we've heard it. We've heard about, oh, hi, Edwin. We've heard the phrases, oh, don't judge a book by its cover. Let me tell you, when it comes to first impression, you better be sure that your book has a good cover, because that is what people will use to judge it. I remember when I was writing my book, Elisha Project, The Privilege of Serving Leaders. I remember putting a sign out to say, guys, I have this design, so I'm looking for titles. Can you help me? It's not because I don't know what I want to call the book, but because I want to make sure when people see that book for the first time, they'll fall in love with it. And you guess what? The cover came out great. The content is wonderful. And if you haven't got a copy, I advise you, visit Amazon tonight and get yourself a copy. You'll be glad you did. Elisha Project, The Privilege of Serving Leaders. Many people have thought about their first impression. Many people have thought about their first impression because they think changing their first impression will mean they are being fake, that they are acting. And once you start, you don't want to change because that will expose you. But the truth is this. The truth is, your first impression, the first impression you give to people is a reflection of not what you do. It's a reflection of what's on the inside of you. And we will get to that as we go along. We're going to clear up some misconceptions, some erroneous beliefs, some things we've heard, we've even said about ourselves about first impression. This program is going to give us an opportunity to clear them up. You see, mastering the art of good first impression is crucial because it will help your business life, your career life, your family life, your friendship life, your romance life. In every area, it will contribute to your success in life. We're going to look at the indelible importance of your first impression. When you meet somebody for the first time, you leave an indelible mark. You leave a mark that cannot be erased. Well, if it's going to be erased, it will take time for it to be erased. And we're going to look at how this is done in a short while. Let me explain how first impression works. Maybe that will help you. And I need you to pay attention here, because subconsciously we all do this. This is how it works. You meet someone for the very first time. You meet someone new. You've never met. You've never spoken. You don't know each other. You're just meeting for the first time. The first thing that will happen is his or her brain, this new person, or your brain, will form an impression in 1/10 of a second. 1/10 of a second, an impression is implanted in that person's brain. What do you mean? It means as soon as that person sees you, as soon as you see that person, there's a camera in your brain that takes a snapshot, bam, instantly, 1/10 of a second. A picture is taken. That is what we call data capturing. Now that data has been captured. That picture is immediately sent into the brain. And within 60 seconds, the brain will process that data. It will process that data within 60 seconds. I mean, you can imagine how fast it is. 1/10 of a second, the picture is taken. Within 60 seconds, the captured data is being processed. While that is being processed, there are tens of thousands of visual, oral, tactical cues as to who you are, that the brain is emitting, that the brain is transmitting, that the brain is sending to different parts of this person's body and mind and soul. All this in less than 60 seconds. And what these signals will do is it will help the person to determine whether or not they would like to get along with you or not. The computer would formulate and manipulate all those data, all those signals, thousands of them within 60 seconds, and it will sort them and put them in different categories as to where you are. The reason it does that is because it's trying to establish, based on the frame of reference of the person you've just met, their experience, their exposure, their background, their behavior, where they are as a person. All of that is going on in that 60 seconds. They will then be sorted into layers. That's called data sorting. Then all this data are then weighed against the processing part of this person's brain. Their emotion will come in, their feelings, their background, everything will then be mixed to that to produce a final result. That final result in an instance will be produced via a visible assessment of you. And the result is a gut feeling. Something on the inside will say to this person, this is a friend or this is an enemy. And whatever is formed at that instant, at that moment, within that small space of time, determines how that person sees you going forward. I don't know, please let me know if this is this making sense to you? Just type something. Let me know this is helping you, or you're following me on this. First impression matters. Within that split second, the result is that there'll be a gut feelings. There'll be a settlement within the spirit to say, it's a good person. Oh, don't touch this person. It's a bad person. The implication here is this. Before you say good, and before the morning comes after the good, people have already decided on what you are like. They've decided on who you are and what you are. Imagine that. I don't know if this is, we're talking of the picture is taken, the data is processed, the data is sorted, the data is manipulated, and within 60 seconds, a decision is made on you. You haven't even opened your mouth to say, my name is Tunde Disu. No, but now somebody has made a decision about you. But don't take it to heart. You do the same. We are all like that. Every one of us are like that. It's a natural human instinct to do that. But this is where it gets interesting. Do you know there's a difference between how a man will look at you and how a woman will look at you? Do you know that? Maybe you don't. I'm going to help you today. I'm going to help you. Chuka said, this is very true. I agree. Omonike said, yes, sir, we are following you. God bless you, sir. Thank you. Let me help you. When a man sees you, whether you're a man or a woman, it doesn't matter. When a man looks at you for the first time, he looks at you from your head to your toes. That's how a man looks. He looks at you from your head to your toes. What's he doing? The first thing he looks is your face. Your face. Is it hairy? Do you have beard? Do you have mustache? What is your face saying instantly to that person? So the first thing a man looks at is your face. Then he looks at your shirt. If you're wearing a tie, he looks at your tie. If you're wearing a tie, he looks at what knot is your tie. Is it half Windsor? Is it full Windsor? Is it 4.5 knot? Or whatever it is, because each of these knots says something about who you are. Oh, I'm enjoying, I don't know about you, I'm enjoying this. I am so enjoying this. So he looks at your shirt and your tie. When he looks at your shirt, he's not looking at the color. He's not looking at the pattern. He's looking at the color of your shirt to see, is it dirty or is it clean? Is it stained from your shaving this morning? That's what he's looking at. Because all of that says a lot about you. Then he looks at your dress. Now he's judging you to see where you are compared to where he is. Because naturally, we are always competing. Whether we see it or not, whether we say it or not, whether we agree to it or not, we are always competing. So the man then looks at your dress. He looks at the size. He looks at the quality. He looks at how is it hanging on you. Have you got a straight shoulder or is it a drooping shoulder? Have you got... Immediately, he's taking all of that on board. Then he looks at your frame. Are you chubby? Are you muscular? The only reason he's doing that is the only reason he's looking at you that way is because he's thinking, if there's a fight between you and I, will I be able to handle you? It's a natural instinct. Don't tell me you don't think about it. Consciously, you may not be thinking about it, but it happens. It's looking at you and say, okay, if I get into a fight with this guy, where do I have to wrestle him from? How do I tackle him? He's immediately looking at that. The last thing he looks at is your shoes. The man will then come down and look at your shoes. What's he looking at? He's looking at, is it polished? Is it kept? Is it a good size for you? Does your shoe size carry the kind of frame you are putting on it? That's what a man is looking at. And finally, he puts his hand out to give you a handshake. He's not shaking your hand to say, how are you? He's shaking your hand to see, are you a man's man or you are just a no man? Is your handshake firm or is it feeble? That's what a man is looking at. And while all that is going on, his brain has captured, processed, sorted, and submitted the result to say, run, Forrest, run. Or open your arms wide, give him a hug. He's a friend. Imagine that. Hi, Monica. Long time, Van Kooten. It's good to see you. When a woman looks at you, though, gentlemen, let me help you here. When a lady looks at you, she looks at you from your toes all the way to your head. The man looks at you from your head down. The woman looks at you from down up. What's she looking for? The first thing the woman looks at is your shoes. Your shoes, man, gentlemen, your shoes says a lot about you. Your shoes says a lot about you. She's looking at the quality, the state of your shoes, how you carry it or how it is carrying you. Have you bruised and battered that shoe? Have you looked after it? Or is it just another knockabout for you? That's the first thing she looks at, your shoes. Then she looks at your dress. Is it kept? Is it ironed? Is it stained? Is it rough? Is it this? And how is the dress hanging on you? Are you the kind of man she will want to walk into a party with, just looking at your dress? I don't know if this is helping anybody. Then she looks at how proportionate is your upper body to your lower body. Is it proportionate? Are you chubby with a beer belly or are you Mr. Muscle? What exactly is your body saying about you? It's not surprising though that most ladies will like men with six packs, some kind of muscles and some straight and broad shoulders, because that gives them, it lifts them up as a lady. And that's what she's looking for when she looks at you. Then she looks at the chest. Is it broad chest or is it narrow? Then she will look at your face. Now she's coming up to look at your face. What is she looking for in your face? Are you clean shaved? Are you rough? Is your mustache kept? What is the texture of your face? And finally, the woman will look at your head. The woman looks at your head. Are you bald? Or are you gray? Or are you clean shaved? Because different things in your body appeals to different people. So, next time before you leave the house, gentlemen, do your own assessment. The Bible says, judge yourself so that you will not be judged when you get outside. So you can see how important first impression is in our lives. It is, I can't emphasize enough the importance of first impression. Now, if this has helped you so far, let me tell you now what are the characteristics of first impression. What are the characteristics of first impression? Because once you know what the characteristics are, once you know the pattern, the behavior, the features that relate, that undergird and hold together first impression, it will help you in administering it, in thinking about it, in being conscious about it when you meet new people. The first one, first impression is registered with lightning speed. I said earlier on, 1/10 of a second, the picture is taken, and within 60 seconds, the result is out. Now tell me, not even Usain Bolt can beat that. So first impression is super fast. Faster than Virgin broadband or fiber. it is super, super, super fast. Secondly, first impression lasts a surprising long time. Once somebody has made a judgment, a conclusion about you from their first impression, it will take the grace of God and a long time as well for that first impression to change. And we will get to that. Now, with first impression, the funny thing is people tend to put a lot of weight on the first impression they've made about you rather than the information they take on board afterwards. Whatever they have decided that you are, whatever they have decided that you portray, irrespective of what happens thereafter, that first impression is cemented, is cast in stone, and it will take a long time and the grace of God to change that. Number 4, first impression forms a filter or a lens through which a new acquaintance will henceforth see you. Once somebody has made a first impression about you, that becomes a lens or the filter through which they now see you, irrespective of what you do thereafter. Now, this is where first impression gets even more challenging. Moving forward, let's assume that you didn't just meet this person for the first time and off you went and you never see each other again. Moving forward, people generally look for behaviors in you and about you to confirm that first impression they made about you. Imagine that. The first impression they made about you the very first time you met. Moving forward, people will use that to judge, they will look at things around you, your character, your behavior, your mannerism, your attitude, your view to life, your disposition. They will be looking for clues and signs to confirm that first impression that they've made about you. Now, this is where it gets even worse. Going forward, even when you start exhibiting character traits and signs and signals and features that contradicts that first impression, people generally, naturally, they ignore those contradictions. It's not something they sit down and say, oh, no, I'm not going to take that. No, it's natural. It happens naturally. They just ignore those things that contradicts their first impression. They don't want to know about it. Once a first impression is made about you, it forms a clear path. It forms a track. And every time you are weaved through that track, and it hardly changes. But where you have regular contact with the person, say somebody like this is your first day at work, and you've been introduced and somebody made a first impression about you, good or bad, it's irrelevant. It would take at least 6 months of constantly be in contact with that person, almost on a daily basis, for that first impression to start changing. It will start changing if there is a daily contact between you and that person. But the reality is, outside of a work environment or a school environment, not even in a church do you see each other daily. So your 6 months will gradually grow to 2 years in a church situation. And your 6 months chance of changing that first impression could expand for the rest of your life if you don't get to meet this person regularly enough to change that first impression. Sometimes, I don't know about you, I've seen people, I've watched movies where they started off on the wrong footing. I mean, it was fire from the very, very first beginning. And then they realized, we're going to spend a lot of time together. We might as well just chill. And they'll say, okay, I know we started on the wrong footing, but can we start all over again? What they're saying is, let us erase that first impression. Let us put that behind us. Let us clean it out. Let's give each other the time and the privilege of forming a new first impression. And generally what they do at that instance is they say, hello, my name is Tunde Disu. Now, this is somebody you've been working with and hanging out with for the past 3 weeks, 4 months, and now you are trying to reintroduce yourself to the person because you want the person to have a different first impression about you. Maybe you need to go back to the office tomorrow. Maybe you need to call that your neighbor. Maybe that lady that serves you coffee every morning unfailingly at 8:12 a.m. on your way to work. Maybe you need to go back and say, do you know what? We started on the wrong footing. Let's start all over again. Hello, my name is Sam. So that you can have the opportunity to set the record straight second time around. What is the summation of all of this? The summation is this. Whether it's a date, whether it's a job interview, whether it's a casual acquaintance, whether it's a work environment, people make their decision whether to like you or not, whether to welcome you or not, whether to accept you or not, within that first 60 seconds. Imagine that. That you could live the rest of your years with somebody in the office, at work, at play, at church, at school, anywhere. And for 5 years, that first impression that is recorded about you becomes the filter through which they see you. Even though you have changed, you've moved on, you've become a different person. Imagine that. And that is why sometimes people you think are your friends, people who portray themselves as your friends, people who even say to your face that they're your friends, when the chips are down, when the reality is staring them in the face, they'll say, I don't know him. Yeah, we hang out, but I really don't know. I've never really taken to him. Why? Because of first impression. But you know the funny thing, which is when I was looking into this, I was shocked. First impression, to a large degree, is very accurate. To a very large degree, it is very accurate. That's frightening. But the good news is this. There's something you can do about it. Not about changing that first impression, but changing yourself, helping yourself so that you can always be perceived. Not acting, not faking it, not pretending. There are things you can do so that you can be seen and be observed and be received as a good person from your first impression. How? Why do I say first impressions are very accurate? Number one, some researchers have come back to say our genetics, they broadcast our personalities on our faces. Our genes, the things that make us who we are, they sometimes broadcast who we are on the inside on our faces, especially when we are meeting someone for the first time. Number two reason why they are very accurate. If you are the kind of person that you carry your face certain way, after a while, you don't need to carry it. The face will just be like that. Now, if that formation of your facial expression is that says, don't come near me. I don't care if you come baring your teeth and smiling and jumping, your face is saying a different thing, and that is what people will take away. So if you are the kind of person that carries your face in a way that says, I'm not your friend, don't think of talking to me, I don't care what you do, you will still not be received well in your on first impression level. Number 3, reason why first impression is very accurate, because our moods and personalities are invariably translated into our body language. The way we feel, how you wake up this morning, what your wife said to you when you were leaving home. Maybe your husband didn't do whatever it is, your mood sometimes is translated into the way we behave. And the way we behave is the way people see us, and that is the first impression that they get away with. Sometimes it will show up in the way you stand, the way you talk, the gesture you make, your general body language will say to someone, not him, let him go. In summary, what this means is that first impressions are not so superficial after all. And changing yours and mine, changing our first impression begins not with what we do on the outside, not with how we portray ourselves on the outside. The first place to start changing your first impression is on the inside. It's on the inside, because it is what's on the inside that will come out on the outside. My son already is online. Welcome. So, let me know if this is, I don't know if this is helping. I know some people have been passing comment. Moses said, this is very true. When doing my specialist training, we will be put in a darkened room and the lights will be switched on for 3 seconds. We would then have to say everything we saw in the room in that 3. Now, imagine that. That's a military man talking now. So to put them in a room, the place is pitch dark, completely dark. They switch on the light. You have 3 seconds to take in as much as you can, and then you have to tell everything you've seen in 3 seconds. That is the power of first impression. Michael Dick, you're welcome. So you can see how first impression permeates every part of our life. So, having defined what first impression is, having talked through how it is formed, having talked about the features, the characteristics of first impression, having looked at how accurate first impression is, let us now look at what makes good first impression. If you haven't got your pen and paper, I would suggest you get it now, because you're going to be taking in some of the things you can do, some of the things you may have to do to give people a good impression of yourself. The first thing is, it is universally agreed among researchers that when it comes to the qualities people are looking for in others, even we don't need researcher to tell us this. You and I know. What are you looking for? Now, tell me, what are you looking for in a person when you meet them for the first time? What are some of the things you're looking for? You're probably looking for somebody who is warm, somebody who is confident, somebody who is trustworthy, somebody who is credible, somebody who is kind, who is attractive. But more than that, you're looking for somebody that will make you feel comfortable, that will make you feel interesting, that will make you feel valued. That is what we are all looking for. Now, having identified that, then go out and give that in your first impression, because that's what everybody is looking for. People are looking for those who come bearing 4 social gifts. 4 social gifts. Number 1, appreciation. Number 2, connection. Number 3, elevation. Number 4, enlightenment. 4 social gifts that we are all looking for in anybody and everybody that will come across, whether first, second, or forever time. We're looking for somebody who will show appreciation, somebody who will give us connection, somebody who will elevate us, and somebody who will enlighten us. In this world, there are two types of people. And this is included in my next book that will be coming out very soon. There are two types of people that are in this world. The two types of people are lifters and leaners. Lifters and leaners. And this is how you identify them. Lifters add and multiply, while leaners subtract and divide. Lifters add and multiply, while leaners subtract and divide. But guess what? This is how we treat them. Some people add something to our lives, we enjoy them. Some people multiply something in our lives, we value them. Some people subtract something from our life, we tolerate them. Some people divide something in our lives, we avoid them. I'll say that again. Some people add something to our lives, we enjoy them. Some people multiply something in our lives, we value them. Some people subtract something